Father's Day weekend, June 15th, 1969. The Martin family is taking their annual camping trip deep into the Great Smoky Mountains. It is a well-established family tradition, and for the first time, their youngest son is old enough to join the hike. This is 6-year-old Dennis Martin. He is 4 feet tall, weighs 55 pounds, and is described by his family as functional and bright, despite some mild developmental delays. Upon reaching Spence Field to set up camp, Dennis and his older brother decide to play a game. They step behind a large bush just off the trail, intending to surprise the adults as they walk past. His father watches both boys crouch into position. He looks away for less than 5 minutes to tend to the campsite. When he calls the children back, the older brother emerges alone. Dennis is gone. There is no sound of a struggle, no rustle of leaves, and no cry for help. In a window of time shorter than a typical commercial break, a child standing yards from his family has simply ceased to exist in the eyes of the world. Dennis's father immediately runs 2 miles down the trail, certain his son has just continued the game. He finds the path empty. No tracks, no sightings from other hikers, and no response to his shouting. The topography of the Great Smokies is a wall of vertical obstacles. These are 60 to 70 degree forested slopes. For a 55 tomboy, navigating this brush is physically exhausting. Climbing up is nearly impossible, meaning any movement would likely force him deeper down into the drainage basins. Then there is the climate. A hiker can soak through their clothes with sweat in the afternoon heat, but as the sun dips below the ridges, temperatures plummet. Moisture becomes a conductor for hypothermia, turning the lush forest into a freezer. Within hours, the biological realities of the mountain turn a missing child report into a desperate race against the elements. The response is massive. Within 48 hours, over 250 civilian volunteers and rangers flood the 20-square-mile zone. But a torrential downpour begins, and hundreds of searchers trample the brush, effectively destroying any scent trails Dennis left behind. However, despite the rain, search dogs do manage to find a faint scent, leading the teams down the treacherous slope toward a nearby creek bed. Nearby, a group of Boy Scouts discovers a set of prints in the mud. The tracks are contradictory. One is a bare footprint, and directly beside it is a shoe print, with a sole pattern matching the footwear Dennis was wearing when he vanished. For a child who entered the woods with both shoes on, the pairing is inexplicable. Rangers quickly dismiss the prints, claiming Dennis's father identified them as too big for his son. But that claim appears nowhere but in the Rangers' own report. There is no external record of the father ever making that statement, and the lead was never officially pursued. As the FBI assumes jurisdiction, the search undergoes a total transformation. Roughly 70 elite U.S. Green Berets are deployed to the mountain, special forces trained in reconnaissance and guerrilla warfare, now tasked with a missing person case. On June 17th, military communication channels split from the civilian rangers. They operate in parallel, no longer sharing information. From June 22nd to 25th, the logs go completely dark, their activities scrubbed from the public record. On June 25th, the military units abruptly pack up and depart the mountain. Simultaneously, the entire search operation is officially suspended. The civilian searchers were told the creek lead was a dead end, but the silence of the Green Berets suggests that whatever was found across that water was no longer considered a public matter. In the decades since, investigators have tried to fit the case into a logical framework. The most obvious natural culprit would be a mountain lion or a bear, but predators leave evidence. An animal snatching a child mere yards from a group of adults would result in a struggle, drag marks, or blood. Dennis vanished without a sound, leaving the dogs with nothing to track but a clean scent to the water. This leaves the theory of human abduction, a scenario the FBI's involvement suggests they took seriously. Yet a kidnapper would have to carry a child through miles of dense, vertical forest while evading a perimeter of hundreds of volunteers, tracking hounds, and armed checkpoints. They would have to be invisible in a forest that was being watched by the military. When the physical behaviors of animals and the logistical requirements of a kidnapper are weighed against the total lack of a trail, the case hits an impasse. The standard tools of investigation offer no way forward. Into this informational vacuum came a disturbing report. A couple nearby claimed to see what they called a hairy man, or a hairless bear, running upright on a ridge, carrying something slung over its shoulder that looked like a small child. The sighting was never corroborated, but it became the catalyst for new local history. It allowed people to fill the void with regional folklore, attributing the disappearance to the Tennessee wild man, or other creatures said to inhabit the deepest caves of these hills. For the National Park Service, the Dennis Martin case remains one of their most controversial records, a point where official transparency seemingly ended at the edge of a creek. Ultimately, the case stands as a reminder that despite our technology and our elite military units, the vast American wilderness can still swallow a person whole in the time it takes